over to you, Alexandra.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Wood is very near and dear to my heart, so I'm definitely going to be accentuating wood a little bit in the biophilic design framework and in some of my case studies today. And I'll get into it in a minute on some of the quick learning objectives. I know we only have 20 minutes here today, and we're running a little bit behind, so I will do my best. But I want to kick it off with one of my favorite quotes here. We can consider a human being to be a battery with respect to cognitive, physiological, and emotional energy, and the natural environment to be the charging station. I just love that. So, who am I? If you go to LinkedIn and you go to Biophilic Design, I am the face behind that community. I really encourage you to check it out. We would love to have you. I love to showcase, projects from all over the world. So if y'all have something, definitely send it my way. My ethos when building this community was to bring together professionals and enthusiasts passionate about integrating nature into the built environment and showing that it can be done anywhere in the world at any scale. And again, to highlight what amazing, projects people are doing all around the world to really help shape environments for the benefit of both people and the planet. It's a little bit about me and yeah. So some of the learning objectives today, like I mentioned, I do want to talk a little bit about wood. I do have a special place in my heart for it, but I also want to give an overview of the biophilic design framework. I want to talk a little bit about a few case studies, and then give you a little bit of a primer on like the history of biophilic design and what it is and how it was coined and all that good stuff. So, what is biophilic design? As the world is becoming very much more urbanized, access to nature is decreasing, as is green spaces. And biophilia and biophilic design are, in a sense, the modern response to that disconnection from nature. And as I will share in just a few slides, our history, we've evolved as a species in relative harmony with nature just for over hundreds of thousands of years. And so biophilic design isn't necessarily about aesthetic. It's about creating spaces that respond to that innate need for nature that we've evolved with over time. And, with that, more modernly now, it's designing homes that breathe, offices that are energizing, and cities that hopefully embrace some of the more natural rhythms of life and what life can be. And then just a reminder that every choice that we make, from the materials that we use to like the layouts and the designs, can deepen our bond with nature, or they can sever it further. So it's just a reminder and a call to action for all of us as a relatively young species. Biophilic design is definitely not new. So there's been natural themes incorporated into structures throughout history. I have a whole bunch of different stuff on this side. Hopefully you recognize a couple. So we've got the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, some Islamic Golden Era buildings, some leaves embellishing Greek temples, gardens and courtyards, Alhambra in Spain, and Roman homes were actually designed with outdoor spaces and nature walls, and that helped improve air quality, reduce noise pollution, all sorts of stuff. So, biophilia is essentially bio, which is life, and philia, which is love. So, biophilia means love of life. I mean, who doesn't love that? It's so beautiful. And Edward Wilson and Stephen Kellert, I hope I said their names right, they co-edited the biophilia hypothesis, where they defined it as the deliberate attempt to translate an understanding of the inherent human affinity to affiliate with natural systems and processes into the design of the built environment. So, biophilic design is not new, as you saw in the previous slide, but natural themes have been incorporated into structures throughout history. But what is new now is the inclusion of biophilic design goals into green building rating systems, into programs, into standards. And this is more of like the modern movement that we're seeing of bringing nature into our lives. I mean, I could go on all day on why this is important, and I will get into it a little bit deeper into the framework. But we are part of nature, right? We're not separated from it. And our designs and our lifestyle should reflect that. We should create more spaces to connect with nature. It can boost, well-being, behavior, so many things I'm going to get into. And for essentially 99% of human history, we have evolved in natural environments. And that connection is still essential to our health and happiness and performance. Yet modern designs often overlook this, and very much to our detriment, I would say. The good news is that research shows there's a lot of great research on how nature actually directly influences our health, happiness, productivity. Don't just take my word for it, though. There are, of course, numerous studies that have increased our knowledge on how humans respond to nature and the benefit of biophilic design. I'm just going to mention this one from Terrapin Bright Green. They're fantastic. If you have not heard of them, definitely check it out. And they published this called The Economics of Biophilia. I think it's almost a decade old already, which means it's probably even has more impact now, right? But it basically explains how even small investments in biophilic design can impact not only cost, but bottom line. And, embracing nature in our built environment, it's not just a visionary idea anymore. It's a smart financial move. And I love this example about trees. So having 10 or more trees in a city block can increase health perception to the same degree as $10,000 more in annual income or as being 7 years younger. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I would love to be 7 years younger or $10,000 richer. Anyway, so with that, I'm going to give a quick bird's eye view into the biophilic design framework and then some quick case studies. I hope we have time for it. We should be good. Okay, so like I mentioned, there's decades and decades of research into the benefits in contact with nature. And it really affects our physiological, cognitive, performance, well-being. And this framework is essentially a evidence-based approach to promote health, performance, creativity. And you can see these are kind of the main buckets, I would say, of desired outcomes and things that we hope to achieve when integrating biophilic design principles into our work, our spaces, our designs. Reduce stress, right? So exposure to nature reduces stress, lower blood pressure, relaxation, lower cortisol levels, all of that good stuff. When you interact with nature, it enhances our attention, our clarity, our thought, our focus. That's why we are seeing a huge movement. And I'll show this in some of the case studies into tech, into healthcare, things like that. And let's see, problem solving, creativity. This can really help with innovative and high performance environments, like I just mentioned. And then it also just strengthens our attachment and appreciation for the natural environment, which can also, have us develop a relationship and an inclination to protect it and to maintain it, which is so important. It really nurtures and supports like that emotional attachment that we have to landscapes and places. And it consistently improves our mood, across the board. And positive emotions are, fundamental to our well-being, our psychological comfort, our safety, and biophilic design also contributes to a sense of community and locality. Generally, there are 3 categories of biophilia, like design elements and patterns. We use natural elements essentially to provide like multi-sensory experiences. So some examples of that would be like plants and animals, just like visual or even physical access to like real plants, or maybe there's like a fish tank or a living organism or an image representing nature or something like that. Water is another example. I mean, everyone loves water, the calming effect immediately, at least for me. I'm also a Pisces and a water child. So water has that for me. Very multi-sensory, the sound, stress reduction, improved cognitive function. Another example would be light, right? Like if we can design spaces that can bring in filtered or ephemeral light and like play with shadow and things like that, that kind of represent changing conditions, just like what we see in nature. And then, general like airflow thermal properties, where you can have like different surface temperatures that mimic the variability of natural environments or things like that. Airflow, For natural patterns, it's usually like, well, there's a lot of different things here. Let's see. I'm probably going to focus on wood actually on this one. So, well, first of all, there's tons of natural materials that we see, like wood, cotton, leather, stone, and textures like something that's grainy or veiny or smooth or rough or something like that. And these can all evoke biophilic responses. But wood specifically is a material that really can maintain a reference to their original state, which is why I love it. I just love staining just a piece of wood and seeing it's just so beautiful. And high ratios of wood materials have actually been shown to induce relaxation, reduce blood pressure, increase feelings of comfort, and certain materials and textures, that are locally sourced, that they can connect people with their land and with their local environment and can create a sense of place there. And that's why I love, wood offers not only like a very visual experience, but a very tactile experience as well. And then the last one, the elements of space and place. So these are enhancing comfort and cognitive performance and playing with space. So like refuge spaces, so place where you could maybe withdraw and there's less activity. Prospect views, maybe you have like something where you can look out, a view over an impeding view of a distance, things like that. Visual surveillance of a surrounding environment. Yeah, I'm going to stop there because we're running out of time. And okay, so this is way too much to go over, and I'm not going to go over it. But the point of this slide is to demonstrate that there are like significant benefits to biophilia. They have been studied, they have been tested. There's data on this. It is quantitative, it is qualitative, and we have a whole bunch of really awesome opportunities to get there. So you can see those elements that I mentioned here: natural elements, patterns, elements of space and play, and then that desired outcome that I was talking about. And then, some of those properties there. There's a lot of fun things that we can play with. Okay. So I'm going to dive into some case studies. And wood is one of those natural elements that can achieve so many goals, in my opinion. It could reduce carbon emissions. It can increase sustainability in a building's life cycle, improve well-being. And I would like to show a few examples and case studies of this. So, the restorative benefits from exposure to wood are consistent with other biophilia research on, the health benefits of plants and just having views of nature. Wood is, very eco-friendly way to bring nature inside. Again, it has many restorative properties. It can reduce our stress, amongst many other things. And it's an integral biophilic design feature and design approach, like we talked about a little bit earlier. And here's some examples of wood in institutions and offices. I'm going to read this quote. Wood provides a warm and tactile contrast to the smooth synthetic environment of the modern high-tech workplace. I mean, I'm already relaxed just looking at those. And wood in healthcare facilities, right? So there's tons of evidence that points to health and well-being benefits, especially with improved patient recovery and in healthcare settings. I think there was a case study. I'm going to have to remember exactly what it was, but it basically said that it improved patients' post-operative recovery. And then also it found that healthcare workers, when they worked in a room with wood, it was described as pleasant and natural and calming and secure and all of these things. And, research is now so advanced that we're like doing experimental tests that have been conducted on, people who volunteer in their physiological responses in like hospital waiting rooms and those with and without wood interiors. And so they have actually shown the differences of this. This isn't just like, this is actually studied. And generally, we're seeing a trend that more hospitals are incorporating biophilic design, not just wood, but natural light, views of nature, healing gardens, and some wood interiors. So there's no doubt that hospital employees and patients alike could benefit from wood interiors. And, they have high stress jobs. It's very high level of stress. And, any contact with nature during that time is going to be beneficial for everyone. Oh, what was the quote here? Yeah, "There is a warmth to wood that can't be replicated in any other material. Wood has the ability to create a more complex and intimate environment even in an expansive open space." I agree. And then also wooden schools and libraries. So students experience less stress, better learning outcomes. We're also just generally seeing a trend in wooden school construction and interior design. Um, I think there was actually a study. They followed 52 students a year. Children in classrooms with solid wood experienced less perceived stress and had lower heart rates in comparison to students that just had linoleum floors and plasterboards. So pretty fantastic here. And, it's so important for that next generation to be exposed to nature, especially on a daily basis. It improves their test performance, their learning, and, generally just exposure to nature for children improves their physiological well-being as well. And that quote is, "Humans feel good and do well in surroundings that are beautiful and connected to the living green world outside by thoughtfully designed wood materials inside." All right. And then we're going to jump into two case studies just because I am calling in from the United States. I have one in Boulder, where I am currently right now, and then one in New York. I think that's all we probably have time for. But this is it's a pocket park, they call it, in Midtown Manhattan, and it uses trees and water. We were talking a little bit about those elements before, so that dynamic light, prospect views, refuge spaces, animals, gathering spaces, some of these types of biophilic design principles in here. They have ivy covered walls, they have honey locust trees, they have a 20-foot waterfall. There's kind of that sheltering quality under the canopy of the trees, kind of a promise of escape from the hustle and bustle of the city. If you've ever been to New York, you'll know. And then just the sound, right? The sound of the cascading water fall, and it's sense like you can hear it when you're walking a few blocks away, right? You can't necessarily see it. So that's creating like a little bit of a mystery and leading you to discovery, kind of that wayfinding. It's a little bit enclosed, it's protected. The honey locust trees offer overhead protection from direct sunlight and rain. And some of the buildings, it's not overly dense. It kind of, dapples the light in, I would say, and their shadows. Very beautiful any time of the year, really. And then the last case study is the Fraser House. So this, I'm currently in Boulder, Colorado, and this house is beautiful. I've been here. It's a net zero energy home. So it's very aesthetically pleasing and a little bit luxurious, but it's also very durable and energy efficient, net zero emissions. And it's designed with like very minimal maintenance in mind. And it has this super dense species of Brazilian hardwood, if I'm not mistaken. And when it weathers, it's really nice. They chose this because when it weathers, it actually weathers really beautifully into like this kind of silvery gray color if left untreated, of course. So you can play with the, color and fading over time. And then the wood tiles were crafted and harvested responsibly with responsible methods. And it is a tropical hardwood. So it's beautiful. But yeah, that is it. And